Welcome back to this lecture on basic tagging with HTML. The main components of any website are defined by HTML elements, and every HTML element is going to have a corresponding tag inside the actual .html file. We're going to start learning about those basic tags that are available to us. In the previous lecture, we saw title tag, which is one of the most basic tags that already comes in that skeleton when typing HTML. Now let's discover heading tags and how we can add in paragraph tags. Let's head over to the text editor. Alright, here I have my text editor open to that basic HTML file from the previous lecture, as well as my browser open directly connected to this basic HTML file with the file path. I'm going to zoom into my browser a little bit so you can clearly see the changes that I'm going to do in my basic HTML file. The first types of element tags I want to show you, we're actually going to put inside the body. Notice that if we just add some text, we'll see some text appear inside of the browser. But there are also heading tags, H1, and if you begin to type H1, you'll be able to hit enter, and they will autocomplete both the opening tag and the closing tag. And now any text in between these two heading 1 tags is going to be bold and larger. So I can say this is heading 1. I will save this and then refresh my page over here, and now you get to see this heading 1 font. Keep in mind, I'm very zoomed into my browser, so the effects and size are going to be a little distorted. However, when you're following along, you should be able to see the effects quite clearly. Now, just as we have a heading 1, we also have smaller sizes of headings. So there's a heading 2. We can type that out, save our changes, refresh the browser, and now I see a slightly smaller heading. And as you may have guessed, if I keep going down, there's heading 3, so H3. We can have that autocomplete. I'll have my heading 3 tag, and then if I save this and refresh my changes, now I get to see a smaller heading. And this actually goes all the way to heading 6. So we'll skip 4 and 5. You can type in heading 6, save this, and if you refresh, you'll see a bold but smaller versus heading 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So those are heading tags, and most commonly we'll be using heading 1 and heading 2, and those are for font that you want to appear just large and bold on the page. And later on in the CSS section of the course, we'll also discuss how to add in your own custom fonts. Now let's imagine we have just a bunch of untagged text. That is, it's not actually tagged in between two tag elements. So here's some text, and then I'll add some more spaces, more text, add a lot more spaces, and say even more text. Save this. Now, a lot of times people will expect these sort of spaces to actually show up inside of our web page. But when I refresh this, I see here's some text, and even more text. And in fact, these spaces aren't going to actually register unless you use proper tags. So the way you can actually create separation is through the use of what's known as a paragraph tag. So I will delete these. And the paragraph tag is just a simple P tag. So if you begin to type P and then hit enter, you'll get the paragraph tag. So we can say, here is some text. And then inside of another paragraph tag, I'll say, even more text. Save those changes. And then when I refresh this, you'll see now I actually have a break. I say, here is some text, there's a break, and then even more text. If I didn't want a break, then all I would have to do is grab that even more text and put it all together inside of that same paragraph tag. Again, this is known as a paragraph tag, and it's just a simple P. And then we refresh, now we get to see everything. I'm really zoomed in here, so you'll see the effects a lot more pronounced. So if I reset here, this is what it would normally look like on your browser. As a quick note, you'll often want to just generate a bunch of text as you're messing around with your test sites. The way to do that is if you just start typing lorem, you'll get this lorem ipsum. Hit enter and then select it, and you'll get just a bunch of text that is known as lorem ipsum text. This is filler text that will quickly create a filler paragraph of just Latin text that is meaningless. So if we refresh this now, inside of our browser, I get to see what's known as lorem ipsum text. This is just a quick way of quickly filling out large bundles of text for you to test out your website. Then finally, I want to talk about inline tags. So here we have tags that basically have a start, all the information, and then a stop. or a closing tag. Inline tags actually allow us to tags inside of other tags. So let's create a new paragraph tag, and here we'll say new semantics, and let's say strong and emphasis. So if I save this and refresh my page, I see new semantics, strong, and emphasis. Sometimes you're going to want to make things appear bold, or you want to make things appear in italics. So in order to do this, I'm going to wrap this strong text inside of a strong tag. So I'm going to create some more space for myself, and if I begin typing out strong, you should see a strong tag eventually form for yourself. So you can select that, and then we have these inline tags, strong and then closing strong. Anything inside of this, so we'll just put the text inside, will end up looking bold inside of your browser. So if you refresh, now I see bold inside. So let's go ahead and make that strong text, strong. So we'll say inside strong, save our changes, refresh, and now you should see how inside strong is now bold. And we can do the same thing for italics or emphasis. The way we do that is we use the EM tag, so emphasis, and that will automatically create open and closing EM tags for us. We will grab emphasis here, and let's say inside emphasis, save it, and now since it's in between these inline emphasis tags, if I save and refresh, notice now inside emphasis is now going to be in italics. So these are inline tags because typically they're going to be in line with some other major tag component like the paragraph. All right, that's really all we need to know about basic tagging. As a quick note, there's actually really useful resources online for basic tagging. One of them is the Mozilla Foundation's documentation for basic elements. There's a link to it inside of this lecture file that corresponds with what we just did here in this video, but I'm just bringing it over in my browser right now. It's at developer.mozilla.org, and we have docs for web, HTML, and elements. And you'll notice here there's a full reference for all the HTML elements possible. So we have area, article, buttons, canvases, details, and so on. You can see here that there's a ton of elements on the side. We definitely don't need to know all of these. We're just going to go through the basic ones in this HTML crash course. But if you ever have questions on one, you can always come here, search for the one you're looking for. For example, I can see that there's paragraph here. So if I click on that, it'll take me to the paragraph element and begin to describe what it does. So it'll talk about tag omissions, permitted parents, the attributes, and what's really nice is it has several examples here and then shows you the actual result. Here we can see how the paragraph is actually enabling the breaking of the text. So we have the first paragraph wrapped in between these two p tags, and then the second paragraph wrapped inside another set of p tags. So when you actually run this, you see a first paragraph and a second paragraph. And what's really cool is you can open this up in a site called CodePen, which will basically allow you to play around with this inside your browser. So if you're just on a mobile device, you can go ahead and start editing this right here, save it, and you'll see the changes being uploaded. Sometimes it asks you, you can just say save as anonymous, and then play around with the files. Okay, we'll discuss CodePen.io in more detail later on. There's also JS Fiddle, which is another website where you can write HTML code inside your browser. All right, so that's it for this lecture. Again, we just covered basic tagging. Up next, we're going to cover some more topics such as HTML lists. We'll see you there.